Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of Sunday Sermon with Ola. This is episode 27. I am grateful to be here. I really feel like as we crossed over into this new year, first of all, Happy New Year. Um, but also, I really feel like I'm getting into a stride now. I've felt that before, but I feel like this one is a bit more poignant. The reason why I say that is because two episodes ago we did Boy Mum, and I feel like that topic has come up time and time again with a lot of stuff I'm seeing online, and that's really making me feel like okay, maybe I was ahead of the curve, maybe I was really had my finger on the pulse as to like what needs to be discussed. So that's fantastic. And also last week's episode as well, I just kind of feel like that one. Someone sent me, someone who was on the live sent me a picture of a perfume, a fragrance that he just ordered. He said that he's blaming the congregation because of all the tips we were giving guys on how to be sexy. He's trying to be sexy for his wife, and I respect that. His wife's gonna enjoy a nice smelling husband, and overall, I believe we're out here doing the Lord's work. So, congratulations to you guys on on getting a guy to buy a new fragrance. Shout out to everybody who's on the live. The lives have just been fantastic. I think last week I said it to the week before, but last week's I think is my favorite so far. I laughed so much. Oh my goodness, it was painful. Oh, I was just cracking up. It was fantastic. So thank you guys for joining in on the live. And thank you as always to all the patrons on Patreon who understand that like look, I can't be out here doing stand up comedy. So and I can't do Sunday service. And so, pivoting and doing Sunday sermon, trying to, focus more on the content and you guys valuing that. That's the thing. It's like, you know, I've spent a lot of time doing this professionally, and then someone tells you, okay, now go back to the beginning, start making content. You're not gonna be paid for it. Just put it out there, just see how many views you get or whatever. It's a daunting process. But when I have guys like you who come around and financially support, who tell people, who jump on the lives, who listen to the pod, who watch the work I'm doing with Phoney or whatever it is. I appreciate you guys, man, so much. Thank you. All right. Enough of uh, the thank yous and the preamble. Um, I haven't had any sort of editors' letters. I take it you guys weren't really feeling that idea. That's fine. It's not every idea that bangs. But yeah, I just noticed that. It just came back to my mind that I threw it out there, like if you guys want me to read something out on the pod. And no one sent me anything to that effect. You guys send me messages and discuss stuff, but nothing specifically to read out on the pod. So cool, that's fine. Let's get into today's topic. Today's topic is about being smart slash clever slash intelligent. I have a very weird relationship with this concept. Um, it's something. It's a title I am hesitant to wear, but is often put on me at times. And even when I do accept it for myself, I do it with almost almost expecting the worst. And we'll go deeper into why that is and so on. From a fairly young age, I was kind of the smart one. And you know, it's weird because I would hear stuff about myself. My mom would always tell me how smart I was. She would tell me that by two, I was you know by one I was counting, by two I was already doing arithmetic, and that I would sit there with the newspaper upside down and really be pretend I'm reading something. Um, that I used to know all the capital cities and heads of state, even as like a toddler. I'd be saying who like who's the head of state in Russia and blah blah blah. So I'd hear this, and then obviously I experience it when you get to school and you get good grades. I was mostly top of the class in a lot of my endeavors academically, and I've gone from there to I went to private schools, and I went from there basically to And there's a point, where I remember my mum's let me know this on many occasions. That way she just couldn't afford private school anymore. And, the headmistress at that time told her, like, look, if you need to go and rob a bank, go and rob a bank. This guy needs, he's gifted. He needs an environment that's going to develop that in him. And then, obviously going to quite an elite university. I went to the London School of Economics. And the thing that I found along the way is that after a while, the title of being called clever or smart or intelligent didn't seem like a compliment anymore. It just got more and more complicated. One reason why is because I became very disillusioned with academic study. By the time I got to uni, I didn't think I really cared too much. I didn't care as much as I used to. Before, A's were everything to me. But I think the first time I failed an exam, maybe it was in secondary school, it was crushing to me. But it was also one of the most freeing moments of my life. Because now I didn't, like, it was like I got to see that, like, I didn't have to be this amazing achiever all the time. But, like, I can fail an exam too. And it happened to me at uni. And around when I got to uni as well, I just I got disillusioned because I kind of felt like this is all a bubble. This makes no sense in real life. A lot of the stuff we were doing was so theoretical and was so within confines and constructs that I really worried about going out into the real world and not being able to function. That I would have all of this theoretical academic knowledge but have no application for it and no real world smarts. So it's not coincidental that around this time I started doing comedy, and basically I had this whole life outside of campus where I'd go out and perform in front of real human beings and make them laugh, and even having the chance to travel and so on. So one of the things that I have to say is just that given this title of being smart or intelligent is complicated because I became very disillusioned with some of the markers that people were using to say this. I was reminded about a lot of this. I don't know what to call it, complex or issues around this week, because I was telling Emily actually, and you would have heard me mention Emily many times on this. Hey Emily, I was telling Emily that I don't read much. I don't read much, and well, I don't read books much. I read a lot of articles. I read a lot of opinion pieces. I'll read like a short extract on something. Like I saw it described online and I quite like the phrase reading on demand. So like I'll read if I want to find out about something, I'll go read. I'll go read a Wikipedia page, I'll go read an article about something. There was a time where I was interested in architecture. You might have seen some of my posts on that, and I read this paper that someone sent to me, which was dope. It was about Nigerian architecture. So like if I have an interest in something, I'll go and read about it. But like the focus to sit down and read a book has been a struggle to me for a while. Even while I was at university, the fact that I finished my degree is fantastic to me because I took 2 law modules and somehow I don't know how I got through them. Um, but for somebody who had, really prided and built his identity on academic smarts and being the intelligent one and being the clever one, I was really like falling apart when I started no longer thriving in this area. You get when you start off at primary school and you're smart, that's fine. You go to secondary school, you're smart, that's great for you. You go to uni, you realize, like if you go to LSE, you realize there are smart people in this world. There are like real geniuses, real life geniuses. And so sometimes you go, do you know what? It's a bit weird building your whole identity on something like this. You get somewhere here and you realize someone's smarter than you, then it's like, who are you? What do you have to offer this world? Because, that guy is smart. That woman is smart. What's your thing? So I was telling her I don't read much, but that I was making a concerted effort this week to get back into reading. And I told her I was reading Murder on the Orient Express by Agatha Christie. Now I have a penchant for Hercule Poirot stories. I've been a big fan for a while, and she made fun of me. She was almost like disappointed because quite clearly she's a voracious reader. And the fact that I'm reading something that she read at aged 11, was just so disappointing. And she was like, "You're a smart guy," and I was like, "Who told you I'm smart?" And she was like, "Well, you are, and you should know that." And I'm like, something in me wanted to reject it again, because it's like, from "you're smart" comes the expectation that I should be reading extremely boring books that are this thick. I learn a lot by talking to people, listening. Like, I will attend a lecture or, have a conversation with somebody before I sit down and read a book by myself. I watch videos and things. I do things. Like, I learned stand up by watching it, then doing it, reassessing it, go out and do it again. And I've really enjoyed that process of learning and using my mind in that way. I've learned how to make content and do all of this from watching videos and then doing it. I didn't read specifically. And if I did, it was like a short article on this is how you do blah, blah, blah. And I just get the information I need and I keep it moving. And I was like, this idea that because I'm smart, I should be, reading, I don't know, Dickens? Or like, what am I supposed to be reading? I just know that even when it comes to reading the Bible for me, I use a podcast called the Daily Radio Bible. It bangs hard. Shout out to Hunter Barnes. He's the pastor. He reads the Bible every day. And I listen to it as a podcast. So I get through that. That was the only way. Like, I've tried to read the Bible all the way through many times in my life from being a teenager. And just the focus and the determination to continue has always dropped off. Listening to the podcast, I've done it 2-3 years in a row now. And even with that, sometimes my pastor will try and get onto my case and be like, "No, you need to get a real like Bible, and like, you need to be able to get into the word." And I'm like, the Bible says faith comes by what? Hearing the word of God. So don't try and shame me for liking an audiobook. That's exactly what the podcast is, an audiobook. But again, it's like there's something about being smart that requires a certain amount of elite snobbery. And it's interesting because that's something people have often applied to me or extrapolated or seen in me. And it's a weird thing because it's not something I want to identify with. At times I feel like it's necessary. At times I feel like it's just, you have to take a stand for something. And if you're going to take a stand for being clever and people hate you for it, I'm sorry, that's just kind of the way it has to go. But I'm also the kind of person who believes that a lot of us have untapped intelligence within us to process new things, and we just need to be challenged. I genuinely believe that. And to be honest, it's at the root of a lot of how I do my comedy. And that's something I want to come to later on. So, back to this book. Like, she said it and it hit me. I don't know if she knows this, but like, that sat with me all week. Every time I picked up the book to read. And now, to be honest, I've been making a lot of progress in terms of reading. Kind of set myself 2 chapters a day. And yesterday I actually did, a lot more than 2 chapters, almost like 4 chapters. So I'm just trying to build that stamina back up again, build the focus, not just passing my eyes over the words, but like taking the stuff and so on. And I've been playing a lot of word games as well, and like just really trying to keep my mind alive, especially as it's really tempting to just watch a bunch of crap and like mind-numbing content. I'm trying to make sure that my mind stays sharp. But there's something about it that just kept bugging me. It just kept bugging me. Like, I don't know what it is deep-seated. And I just had to go back and really think about a lot of this identity around being smart or being clever. There's something I realized I internalized, because when I said it back to my mum, she was shocked. My mom used to say something to me when I was a kid. It's weird. Yeah, let me give you the context for this. My mom always praised me for how clever I was. This was like my redeeming quality, my shining glory was how clever I was. I brought home good grades and I was sharp, and she was very proud of this. And I remember I have a faint memory of being like maybe two, maybe two, and my mom was teaching me arithmetic, maybe two or three, with a stick. She used to hit us with a stick when she was disciplining us. And I remember specifically getting the question 5 minus 3 wrong, right? We had done 4 minus 2, and the answer is 2. Thank God I know this. We did 4 minus 2, and the answer was 2. So I had clearly hadn't grasped the concept yet, but I kind of got the idea that if I say the last number we just said, then the answer is correct. So 4 minus 2 is 2, so 5 minus 3 is 3, which obviously it isn't. I said 3, and she got very upset with me, and I think she hit me. I can't remember, but I remember crying. I remember a tear dropping. It's really movie-esque and depressing and sad and corny, but like a teardrop dropped on the pen and the ink and blah, blah, blah. So you have to understand that like this intelligence wasn't just a matter of like just gifting. This was a lot of like work and pushing as well. So there was something she used to say a lot, which was, whenever you think you're smart, you're the most stupid man in the whole world. The context in which she would say this is if she suspected I was trying to outsmart her or lie to her or like try and find a clever way around things or be smart with my mouth or whatever it is, she would cut me back down to size by letting me know that thinking you're smart actually makes you stupid. And what I internalized from that, which to be honest, there's wisdom in that. There's wisdom in that because I think it's made me thirst for more and not overvalue my, sort of academic gifting or whatever it is. But what it's also done is made me forever, like I'm forever questioning myself and everything around me. Look, I don't need to tell you guys this. I sit down in front of you for half an hour every week and question everything from every angle. And then I get on and do 4 hours of discussion with you guys on Instagram Live, asking questions and taking on views that aren't necessarily mine. But the thing is that it doesn't always allow you to be settled or comfortable. And that's not always a bad thing, by the way. But sometimes I want to be comfortable. And you know who seems comfortable? Ignorant people. Oh, they seem the most comfortable. Oh, I've been looking at ignorant people sometimes like, oh my goodness. Do you know how fun it must be to be you? Don't ever change. Be you. Be you. This stuff is overrated. So getting back to being intelligent. I really felt like when I was older, I didn't necessarily repeat my mom's words of like when you think you're smart, you're the most stupid person in the world. But what I would say is when people say I'm smart, my automatic out of office reply was that I'm not smart. I'm just good at convincing people that I am. And there is some truth to that as well. To be honest, the markers people use for smart are so ridiculous. Sometimes people look at someone wearing glasses and think, oh, this person's smart. They're wearing glasses. That's how dumb we are in terms of the cues we take. But to be honest, like, even for somebody who doesn't read as voraciously as one might expect, I have a fairly decent command of the English language. I think I can articulate myself very well. And when someone articulates themselves very well, you think they're really clever. But I've really found myself saying things that I later on go, what the heck was all of that? But because I was really good at being able to put my point across, I was able to get away with an absolute madness. Views that like I've challenged later on and gone, nah, what was I saying? But I really got away with it because of how well I could say it. That's what I mean. Like sometimes we really don't know what intelligent is. We like, and yes, I want to make it clear at this point. There are many forms of intelligence, but you know the one I'm talking about. That generally accepted, like this guy's clever, he's smart, he can do maths real quick, he can put ideas together, he can argue points, he can read literature and speak languages or whatever it is that you kind of have in your mind as like that clever guy, the one who does well in school. That's what I'm talking about. So I would always feel like I'm good at convincing people I'm smart. But I was always hesitant to accept like you're smart. Now, one of the ways in which I have started to try and I guess at times embraced the idea of being smart or intelligent is when it comes to comedy, and only because when it comes to doing stand up or comedy or whatever it is, and now you're self employed and you have to market yourself and promote yourself, people just you have to find a way to describe who you are, contextualize yourself. And, people ask, what kind of comedy do you do? And I've always found it hard to try and like quantify. I think it's unique and I think it's me. I think it's more and more unapologetically me, more streamlined me, more creative me, more authentic me, and so on. I think that's what my comedy is. But that doesn't work very well on a catalogue for a comedy festival. So you have to start explaining like, where do you sit in comedy? And one of the terms that I have allowed on a few occasions or even used myself is clever or intelligent. But even that I have a problem with. So I tell you why I have a problem with it. One, if you have to tell people you're clever, there's already a problem. But I listen to like the feedback that I get to try and work out where is it I sit in this whole comedy game. Do you know what the weird thing is? Doing black comedy shows, I'm described as clever. Doing mainstream comedy shows, where there's a white majority or it's a white reviewer, I'm described as cool and laid back, confident. And that makes me worried. That really worries me. That amongst black people, I'm seen as intelligent. But amongst a majority white environment, I'm not intelligent. No one's remarking on my intelligence or how clever I am. They're saying I'm confident, and they're saying he's cool and relaxed and laid back in his delivery. So, the benchmark for clever to be the thing that you go to first, must be different in these two communities. That's where my worry is. My worry is that I would really start to believe the hype because I've come out of a black environment that has reinforced me as clever. But in the real world, it doesn't translate. And I'm a guy who thinks he's clever, but actually the most stupid guy in the room. How does that play out? I remember a comedy show I did. It was in Clapham. It was called Oh Sugar. It was run at a restaurant called Brown Sugar, and it was run by them boys, which included Phoney, by the way. So if you see me like working with Phoney now, just know that we have history go way back. This is a long time ago, and I remember this specifically because it was so painful. It was the day that Dave Chappelle popped out of nowhere and was performing at Kojo's Comedy Funhouse in central London. And I wanted to go so bad, but I'd already accepted the booking at Oh Sugar, and I felt like it would be poor form for me to cancel at late notice because I want to go and see Chappelle. Bear in mind, Chappelle's my favourite comic of all time. Even Chappelle's going to come into this. And I went on stage, and I just wasn't doing very well. Right, the gig wasn't going too well, but the standout moment for me was where in a joke I used the word propaganda. And it's already bad enough you're not doing well, but it was like the look of confusion on people's faces as they looked at each other like, what? What's this guy talking about? I'm vocalizing it for the people who are listening just to the audio, but really it was just the facial expression I'm showing you right now on YouTube. It was like disgust and disdain and confusion all in one face. And I just kind of thought, I refuse to believe that the word propaganda is beyond these guys. I refuse to believe it. I just cannot accept it. A lot of these people in this room will be uni students. There will be people who have degrees. But there was something about the room and the environment and the way our community spaces are run that we cater to the lowest common denominator all the time. And so there's like a collective dumbing down. I believe there are people in there who know what it is. They know what the word propaganda is. They're not that shocked by the word, but they're just so shocked to hear it in this environment. And so they look at each other for the confirmation of like, this guy's weird, right? Why is he using this word? I refuse to believe the word was just too long or just too complicated. I refuse to. And I've had that a few times at comedy shows where people come up to me afterwards and say, oh, you're just too smart for the audience. I'm like, what does that mean though? I take that as I wasn't funny enough to challenge them out of where they may have been already. Right? I put that on myself. But there are times where I look at the audience and I just go, you guys want ignorance. You want it. I think we like entertainers and friends that make us feel good. And I think no one really likes clever people unless you feel like you are clever too. Because clever people make you feel bad about you not knowing stuff. Whether they intend to or not. Definitely some people do it on purpose. And definitely some people don't. Some people just genuinely surprised that you're still reading Agatha Christie age 33. But when somebody has an intelligence lead on you or gap, it makes you feel trash. And I think that's what I was feeling when Emily made the comment about what I was reading. But I'm so used to being on the other side of it, so like talking about going to LSE or getting a certain grade and not really understanding how that made other people feel. And that's why I would sit there and be like, why is everybody acting funny? Like, surely you guys can just challenge yourselves a bit more mentally and you can meet me where I'm at. But I think people know they need clever people, but I don't think they enjoy clever people. Because you know who has fun? Ignorant people. Ignorant people be having the most fun. Oh my goodness. You seen ignorance in its full glory? Oh, it's fantastic. Oh, just a reckless abandon. No need for facts. No need to be grounded in reality. They are the freest. But sometimes when you just know too much, or you value knowing too much, it's stress. You know, I'm pretty sure that this so-called perceived intelligence I have has been the root of way too many relational issues with me. I'll tell you why. Because I've seen, I remember this. I remember having an argument with another friend. And the way I phrased something offended him. And I was like, well, bro, like, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. Like, he was like, no, you knew what you were doing. I was like, can't you just give me the benefit of the doubt? Like, why would I just out of nowhere just start being mean or just start saying something wild like that? And you know what it was? It was the fact that he said to me, You're a smart guy. You know how to use words. So the assumption is that if you're clever and you make a mistake or you say something rude or whatever it is, that actually you went deep down into the cave and you plotted the most evil, diabolical plot in your lair and you enacted it on that person rather than you stumbled and made a mistake. If somebody perceives you as stupid or ignorant, they let you get away with stuff because they go, that's who you are. If they see you as smart, then things that you make as a mistake, just being human, they read so much meaning into it. They see it as almost like how dare you? I remember um when I told my mum my AS level results. I told her I got 3 A's and a B. She said, I knew you'd get a B. I was like, what? What? She always used to say that 9 out of 10 is the most stupid mark you can ever get. Because it means you could have got 10 out of 10, but you were just being silly. If you get 5, you get 4, you get 3, you get 2, that's fine. No problem. It means you didn't understand and you just need more education. But 9 out of 10 means you could have got 10, but you just were messing about, being silly. There's no grace when you're supposed to be smart or intelligent. I don't know what people think intelligent or smart is. They think like you're maybe all-knowing, or I don't know. I don't get it. But I don't want that. I don't want that mantle. That's way too deep. I'd rather you underestimate me. Then when I come with the 9 out of 10, you go, do you know what? That's amazing. I can't believe you did so well. But yo, that drop, that disappointment drop is much. And there's really very little social advantage to being smart. And I know last week when we were talking about being sexy as a guy, a lot of the sisters were talking about how they want an intelligent guy. As a guy whose wife has told him that he's intelligent, or described him as such, I would argue with you a little bit that maybe you don't want an intelligent guy. Maybe you want an emotionally intelligent guy, yes, maybe. But a guy who like knows stuff, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Because if you really meet a guy who's cleverer than you, a guy who can out-talk you in an argument, a guy who can present ideas that confuse you, a guy who maybe has a better grasp of vocabulary than you do, the same thing you're saying you like about him will be the same thing you use against him when you're angry. You will end up being so irritated that this guy is just such a smart aleck that there's no social benefit to being smart. You're better off being dumb. You're better off being dumb. I'll tell you why. When you're dumb, I inverted commas by the way, as in how people see you. I'm not describing anybody as dumb. When you're dumb, you get to have the most fun. And the day you say something smart or intelligent, everybody's mind is blown and they give you the absolute benefit of the doubt. You're perceived as smart, the only way is down. And every day people are waiting for you to say something stupid, make a mistake, they don't like you, you seem as though you think you're better than everybody else. And there's literally no benefit to this. This is why smart kids get bullied. In my opinion. Think about it, it makes no sense, right? Like, in school, if you are the fastest, you get a certain amount of respect. If you're the best at football, you get a certain amount of respect. But you do well at your academics, and people want to make fun of you. Why? Why is that? Why is that? What is it that makes people want to do that? Because the idea is that socially, there's something about being intelligent that makes you less likable. If people see you as intelligent. So coming back to comedy, and I think about what I want to do with my life and so on. I spend a lot of time confused, and I spend a lot of time basically just trusting God that whilst I have no idea where all of this is going to go, I just trust that He knows what's best and He's going to make it all work out. But there's something that seems to keep occurring to me, which is that the people I want to like me, and this is me being very, upfront and honest, are just not going to like me. I don't know how else to put it to you. They're just not going to like me the same way. When I look at what dominates the spaces that I enjoy, the audiences I want to reach, the stuff that really reigns, it's not the stuff that I would describe as clever. The stuff that I think is clever is maybe for Black History Month. But as soon as November hits, once that 1st of November hits, we're right back to what we always liked. We like turn up, we like fun, we like scandal, we like trash, we like, energy, we like big, we like in your face. But the thoughtful seems lost. And it's a tough road to walk with everything I've just said to you. Because it's a real frustration. But I'm never going to be that guy who just comes out and says, Black people like dumb stuff. Because I refuse to believe it. I just believe that, unlike Oh Sugar, Oh Sugar was the place that I mentioned before, the show that I mentioned, was an environment. And I just don't believe we have that many environments where we cherish and bring out and exercise the part of us that seeks intellectual stimulation. And I find myself having to create that environment so that I have a place to thrive. That's what this podcast is. That's what the lives are. That there aren't ready-made platforms for me. And to walk this rope without being elitist and snobbish and looking down on people, whilst dealing with the real tangible effects of being a comedian who's gone out and done the same material in front of Black people and white people every day for years. I know there are more than enough Black people out there who love what it is I do. By sample, I've seen enough to know that there has to be more. But we just don't have the environment for it. That's my thoughts. I want to discuss it with you guys, though. Do you guys think that there's any point in trying to do smart or intelligent comedy? How do you feel about smart people? Do you see yourself as smart or intelligent? When you come across somebody who seems very intelligent, do you feel intimidated? Do you think there is such thing as this is too smart for the Black audience? Or for any audience? Do you believe that we have a fair balance of, I'm not trying to take anyone else's shine or anyone else's platform or anyone else's content away from them. I just think there should be space. There should be a space where if you want to say the word propaganda, you won't be looked at as weird. Talk to me. Instagram live tonight, 8 p.m. Join me on my Instagram at olathecomedian. Um, and as always, please keep supporting. I've gone long this week. Forgive me. Have a fantastic Sunday. I'll speak to you later. Stay blessed.